Whether it's an ult or it's your main, when you reach level 80, one of the most irritating things to get is a decent weapon. There's plenty of BOEs that come from Nax, Ulduar, or even just world epics that you can get geared up pretty quick, but weapons, there's never really any good ones that you can get that are not 200 eye level, until phase 4 hits and the Battered Hilt is introduced. Now the Battered Hilt is an item that drops in any of the 3 new heroics. It drops from trash, it drops from bosses, and it can be sold on the auction house. There's going to be more people than just ults or even new mains that are going to want this for the actual 251 weapon itself, because it actually comes with an achievement if you complete the quest line. So whether you're a completionist or you're a new ult or a new main, a 251 weapon, if that's no good for you, the achievement might be. So you're going to want to get hold of a Battered Hilt, either by farming these new heroic dungeons or just buying one from the auction house. There can be a few confusing steps about this questline, which we're going to go over, but actually it is quite fun, and one of the quests in particular is exactly the same as the one in Scottejaye Basin where you make the brew, but instead you're washing someone's clothes. There's a few steps that differ between Horde and Alliance, and also depending on whether you use a sword or a mace, we'll also have a couple of steps that will differ, but mainly that's just where you actually hand it in at the end. Depending on what class you are will depend on the 4 rewards that you're going to be offered at the end. So if you as a paladin, for example, you're going to get a choice of 4 swords, whereas if you're a druid, you're going to get a choice of 4 maces. These are the weapon rewards, so we've got the swords first, and as you can see, they are all solid. 251 item level is not far off of the best items that you're going to get from TOC 25 Heroic. It's only 7 item levels lower. And these are the maces. They're all of similar stats, but that's because they're all just 251 weapons. Before we get into the how, be sure to follow me on Kick, where you'll see me do all sorts of weird and wonderful things. Kick.com/Scottejaye. So first of all, you're going to want to get a Battered Hilt, whether you get it from the auction house or you just grind out in Pit of Sauron would probably be my recommendation, just because there's a lot of trash in there, meaning there's a lot higher chance of it dropping. Once you've got the Battered Hilt, accept the quest. You're then going to want to go to Quel'Dalar's Rest, which is just south of the Argent Tournament grounds. If you're Alliance, you're going to be handing in at Kaladis Brightspear, and if you're Horde, you'll be handing in at Moralian Sunblaze. The next place you're going to need to go to is the top of Wormrest Temple to talk to Crassus. You'll have a little bit of RP that you can sit and watch while you wait for this, and next you're going to be sent to Dalaran. Now this is where it depends on whether you're Horde or Alliance on where you're actually going to go next. If you're Horde, you're going to be sent inside the inn of your faction area, and if you're Alliance, you're going to go into that little library section just by where the emblem vendors are. Once you've handed this part of the quest in, you're then going to go down into the sewers. Again, depending on your faction, will just depend on where in the sewers you're going to go. If you're Horde, you're going to go down to where the emblem trading vendor is, so the money exchanger. And just next to the bar, you'll see this guy that you're going to kill. Just kill him and loot him. If you're Alliance, you're going to go to the black market area on the complete opposite side of the sewers and kill the Sunreaver agent. Again, once you've killed him, just loot him. Now you're going to go back to the NPC where you got the quest from and hand in. Next, you're going to head to Threads of Fate in Dalaran, and it's just above the shop on the balcony where you'll find this guy who's trying to wash his clothes. His name's Shandy Glossgleam. When you speak to him, it's going to do a little bit of RP, and then it's going to start a quest which is very similar to the one in Scottejaye Basin, where you have to make the alcohol. He's going to ask you to either put water in, or toss trousers in, or a shirt, or some unmentionables. You'll do this for a minute or so, and then the washing will be ready. Once you loot the washing, you'll get the tabard that you need. Just head back, hand this tabard in, and you're ready for the next step. Now the tabard is going to disguise you as the opposite faction. So while you're disguised, you're basically talking to the opposite faction's quest giver. So as Horde, you're going to go into the library area next to the emblem vendor, and for Alliance, you're going to go into the Horde's inn in their faction area. Then you just talk to the opposite NPC and say you want the tome that you need. They'll give it to you. You go back and hand in. At this point, you're going to be sent back over to Icecrown again to Quel'Dalar's Rest, so where this quest line actually started. Sit back and enjoy a bit of Blood Queen Lanafel RP, which, if you don't know, Blood Queen Lanafel is a boss in Icecrown Citadel. And then once it's finished, you're going to speak to your faction-appropriate NPC, which is there again to get the follow-up. This is where you're going to be sent into the 3 new heroics. Now, you don't actually have to complete all of these heroics, but while you're in there, you're not going to want to leave as soon as you get your quest done, so I would recommend staying. The first place you're going to be sent into is Pit of Sauron. What you're going to need to do once you're inside Pit of Sauron is just go around all of the area at the start looking for these Sauronite bar piles, and you're going to loot them. Once you've got 5 of them, you can then hug the right-hand side of the instance and follow it around until you find Forge Master Garfrost. He's quite big, you're going to struggle missing him. Kill the boss, loot him for his hammer, and then you're going to want to take the hammer that you loot from the boss and the 5 piles of Sauronite bars that you got and go to one of the forges behind him. Right-click on the hammer, and this will forge the quest item that you need. Now, it's worth mentioning that you can do all of these quests inside the instance on normal as well. So if for some reason you was already doing the heroics when the Battered Hilt dropped, you can actually still complete your quest the same day just by doing these on normal. Now at this point, you don't want to get caught out and go all the way to Quel'Dalar's Rest, back to where you would expect to hand this in. Actually, the NPC that you're doing these quests for has now moved just outside the instances. So the frozen halls where you're going to hand this in is, as I say, where the portals are to all 3 new instances. So just go outside and hand in. The Horde quest giver will be located here, and the Alliance quest giver will just be located next to it here. Once you've handed this part of the quest in, you're now going to get sent into Forge of Souls. Unfortunately, this is one that you're actually going to have to clear because you need the final boss room. So once you've cleared all the way through the instance and killed the last boss, just behind him you'll see this Altar of Souls type thing. Just best way of describing it, really. Once you're in front of it, just right click the item in your bag, wait for it to finish, and job's a good un. Now you're going to want to head outside the instance into the frozen halls again and hand in. Now this is the last part, and this is quite interesting because you don't actually need a group to do this. Certain classes will be able to solo this next section because you're just heading into Halls of Reflection, but you're not going anywhere past the first room. So if you're quite good at kiting or you've just got very good gear, you should have no problem soloing this section at all, because it just whirlwinds constantly, it can be kited, and it's only got about 200,000 health. When you walk in and get close to the center, the item will fly out of your bags and start spinning around until it becomes active. If you want to go for safety, just ask for a friend or two to help you do this, but as I say, I see a lot of people doing this part on their own. If you fail it for some reason though, just abandon the quest, head outside and pick it up again so you get the quest item back in your bag, ready to walk in and give it another go. Once you've handed in, you're off to somewhere you haven't been for a while. Sunwell, of all places, but it kind of makes sense. You're doing a Quel'Dalar questline. So once you're on Isle of Quel'Danas though, you're going to want to literally go just outside the Sunwell Plateau raid portal, and you'll see this guy stood here that you hand into. He's then going to send you to find Felorian's remains, which you can find here. There'll be a few waves of mobs that you need to kill. None of it should be too difficult, but if you are worried because your gear is particularly bad, then just bring a friend to help out. Once you've gained Felorian's blessing though, just head back to the portal of Sunwell Plateau and speak to Dalaran again. Now this is another section where you could get caught out again because you don't want to form a raid group to go in Sunwell. Instead you just want to speak to one of the wardens outside and it will teleport you in. Once you're inside, just run down the stairs past the big robot, turn left, and you'll see the big red light. Click the item in your bag and job's a good un. It's as simple as that. Now just head back and hand in. This is where, depending on your class and which weapon type you'll be receiving, depends on where it will send you next. If you're completing a quest as a paladin, for example, where you'll be rewarded with a sword, it will hand in at the Violet Citadel in Dalaran. But if you're completing it and handing in to receive a mace on such as a druid, you'll be sent to the Argent Tournament grounds inside your faction's tent. And that's it. You've got a 251 weapon. It's quite a decent sized quest chain, especially when there's 3 instances involved, but absolutely worth it, and I'm actually looking forward to doing it myself on live, even if it is just on my main, just to get the achievement. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe, share it with your friends, consider joining the channel as a member, and don't forget to follow me on Kick. See you on the next one.